We want to give you guys a little more detail specifically on the Friday weather system, and then the evolution on through next week. So let's start off with our temperatures. On Friday, up in northwest Montana and along the Divide and down near Butte, we're looking at high temperatures in the 30s. Up north, specifically Highway 2 up through Kalispell, 93 up through Eureka. All of you guys are expected to see your high temperatures fairly early in the morning, or even by just mid-morning. Then the Arctic arrives, drops your temperatures, and you'll probably see steady to dropping temperatures for the rest of the day. And if we look at a snapshot of where our temperatures will be Friday during the day, definitely above freezing, and then looking at a pretty good drop behind that Arctic. We're seeing a fair amount of single digits and teens, and then below freezing over in central Idaho and down into the 20s down in Lemhi County. So it's a pretty big change. It looks like for most people about a 20-degree drop in probably around 12 hours. What that does to our snow levels is we have rain at a lot of the lower elevations south of I-90. North of I-90, it looks like most places will probably just start off as snow as early as tomorrow morning. And then that cold air starts to rush in from the north and the east. Snow levels start to drop, so by the afternoon we're seeing dropping snow levels. Even in Missoula we should start to see a rain-snow mix switch over to snow. Same with any of the other valleys that are still hanging on to rain in Montana. In Idaho, snow levels are a little slower to drop. We don't really see those until we get to the evening. We're starting to see a drop. Pretty much all of Montana's cold at this point, and then it's not until that really into the overnight period where we see snow levels consistently drop for just about everywhere. At this point, most of the precipitation is done. So let's take a little closer look at the details for the timing of this Arctic. This here is just a model depiction of where we think the temperatures will be, and here we are around 9 a.m. we start to see that cold air work its way from north to south and into the east. Here we're in the afternoon, see it go through around Missoula, and then overnight it makes its way over into Idaho. So I'll let this loop one more time so we can keep up with the timing on this. So this is tonight, and then we're getting to early tomorrow morning. This is mid tomorrow morning where we get into northwest Montana. And by the afternoon we're seeing cold air into central and southwest Montana, and then the evening is when it finally pushes through Lemhi County and into central Idaho. As for snow amounts in northwest Montana, this system doesn't really look like a big snow producer for almost any valleys, especially northwest Montana and west central and Idaho. We're not really expecting a lot of snow. What we are worried about is we're going to get a rain-snow mix or snow, and then we're going to bring in much colder air. It looks like up in northwest Montana, this happens in the morning. It might be fairly close to the morning commute where we're seeing temperatures drop right back into the freezing and below after we've already got everything wet with snow. And then we get gusty winds as well, so ice is what we're worried about for this one. The terrain, high terrain, should do pretty well with snow amounts on this. It's a pretty good push of moisture, so you see those light up with the terrain, and Marias Pass seeing pretty good snow amounts. And then when we get to west central, same story. The high terrain, we're expecting snow. The valleys, it'll probably be a rain-snow mix, maybe even all rain before we switch to snow. And then we're a little bit more worried that our transition to icy roads could happen during the evening commute. So that looks more likely for here. So we're not, again, not as worried about snow amounts. It's more about the occurrence of snow, snow falling while we're cooling, and wind. Southwest Montana, since you guys are higher elevation, snow levels are closer to most of your elevations, so more snow, but the same story. We're worried about the snow mixing with our cold, going from above freezing to below freezing, or near freezing to below freezing. And an ice-up scenario could happen on any, like Homestake, McDonald, any of those look like they could be just warm enough before the Arctic gets there that it could be a wet snow, cold, packing in there, and then turning into ice. And I-90 looks like it could be trouble. So that's our more so afternoon problem that we're looking for. It could start as early as late morning for you guys, so we'll need to keep an eye on that. Over into central Idaho, the snow levels stay high for a majority of the precipitation time, so we're seeing Lolo Pass in the higher elevations that should see snow. We are not forecasting much for anything for snow for the lower elevations, so we'll keep an eye on that. You know how these can go with a cold push from the north. Things can change quickly. So, but right now we're moderately confident that you guys should stay rain at the low elevations, snow up high. And then Lemhi County, you're about the last to get in the mix here, so it takes a little bit of time for this to get down to you guys. It'd be more evening and overnight tomorrow, or Friday night, and we could be underdone. There are some indications that places like Gilmore Summit might end up having some lingering snow right when the cold air gets down, and that would be sometime Friday night, early Saturday morning. So you may see some updates on that with higher snow amounts. Here's a snapshot of wind gusts. It could be pretty easy to see wind gusts at least in the 30s up north, 40s possible. We're not showing a lot of wind gusts down through the rest of the forecast area. We're probably a little bit underdone. I would expect to see some pretty gusty winds on going from McDonald Pass. You're going through 12 and 200 and all the way into Missoula. There should be at least some pretty good gusts because it's a pretty good temperature drop. It may just be that this snapshot that I'm looking at only goes until early afternoon, so our timing would probably be a little bit later. So we might not see the stronger winds until maybe after 2 p.m. on Friday. And then some wind will make its way into Idaho, but it just is more of a colder, maybe a little more gradual and not quite as drastic as it is in places like Highway 2 up north. After this goes through, we dry out pretty quickly. On Saturday, we get some of the coldest temperatures that we've had. And then on Sunday, we get pretty stable, and it looks like we may start to see freezing fog become a problem. If it develops on Sunday, some of those valleys may end up staying in fog through a fair amount of next week. And we'd see freezing fog. We're expecting most of the temperatures to be below freezing during this. So this is the next piece that we need to worry about. And Thanksgiving, we know that the travel period is starting pretty much tomorrow. So looking out from this tomorrow, it's going to be a mess. It just seems like we'll have so much traffic because of different events that are happening. People may start their travel. So we are a little worried that even though it's not the most drastic of weather systems, that it could have road impacts. And then the fog leading up to Thanksgiving could be slick roads, frosty conditions that might be a problem. But then we're looking at Thanksgiving and onward, where there's kind of mixed signals. We might start to switch into more of a wet pattern where we see snow return, or we might stay in fog where it lingers into a bit of the week. So we'll keep an eye on that and give you updates likely on Sunday, and then if we see anything changing, we'll let you know. The snapshot of the week, I highlighted all areas on Friday as a moderate impact, and I did this even in Idaho because if anything, we have a pretty good temperature drop, so you still need to worry about ice, just like all the rest of western Montana. And then Lemhi County, you guys have the whole mix. There should be rain, snow mix, snow, cold. So I think that all of us have the potential to have an impact tomorrow and by late Friday. And then there's maybe an outside chance of some higher impact if we end up with a little bit more quickly freezing conditions on roads. So we'll just have to really watch that and see if we see any changes. I left the rest of it green. The only thing that might change that is if fog ends up being a bigger issue, and freezing fog and frosty conditions and things like that, they would add to the mix. Otherwise, there isn't really anything else that stands out for the rest of the week. We're planning to do another recording on Sunday, so stay tuned and definitely feel free to subscribe to YouTube and watch to keep updated on this. Thanks very much.